to their first meeting under the tenure of Mr. Olayemi Cardoso as governor, which is scheduled for Monday, February 26th and Tuesday, February 27th, 2024. Confirming this in Abuja on Friday, January 19, 2024, the Acting Director of Corporate Communications Department, Mrs. Hakama Sidi Ali, disclosed this at a session aimed to brainstorm and engage in an in-depth discussion about the committee's objective. She revealed that critical focus areas during the retreat includes deliberations on the strategic plan to effect necessary improvements in the monetary policy transmission mechanism and was facilitated by former MPC members, monetary policy communication specialists at the IMF, and directors of departments crucial to the MPC process. A calendar of meetings of the Monetary Policy Committee for 2024, published on the CBN website, indicates that meetings have been scheduled for February, March, May, July, September, and November 2024. Let's get more on this, and I'm being joined via Zoom by the Chief Executive Officer of Economic Associates, Dr. Ayo Teriba. He starts the week with us on Business Nigeria. Dr. Teriba, thank you so much for joining the program. We appreciate this. Dr. Teriba, can you hear me? Good afternoon. All right.
Sorry, I had to unmute.
Okay, thank you so much. I can hear you loud and clear now. I'd like us to start with...
Good afternoon, viewers.
Yeah, all right, thank you. We now have our the date for the first MPC meeting. But before we get there, a lot is being done by this present CBN gradually, and many will say not much noise is being made. Payments are being made, repatriations are being done, verified payments are being cleared by the Apex Bank. What is your understanding of this, and what does this mean for our business community?
So that question is...
Dr. Everybody, did you get my question?
Can you rephrase it?
Okay, I said the Mr. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
I said the Mr. Olayemi Cardoso CBN has been doing a lot in recent times. Clearing backlogs, verified backlogs, in quotes.
Yes.
What do you think of this move, and what does it mean for our business community?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm worried about it. You are stating facts. You are making statements of fact. He inherited, a difficult situation in which the central bank had accumulated the backlog of obligations it had failed to meet. And Mr. Cardoso is doing his job, clearing the backlog. So what do you want me to think about it? Does he have a choice, or does he have an alternative? So it's at least you stating that fact makes it clear to Nigerians how difficult the job that the country has invited Mr. Cardoso and his team of deputy governors to undertake, how difficult it is. They are replacing a group of governor and deputy governors that has wreaked a lot of havoc internally within the central bank, within the banking system, within the financial sector, and within the broader economy. And they have a lot of rebuilding to do from inside out. So how do I want to feel? We had an anticipatory period in which you had an acting governor, and it was not clear if it was going to be confirmed or not. Eventually, we have Mr. Cardoso, and he's set about it. We have to wish him luck and hope that he will come up to date with the backlogs that he has had to clear and begin to rebuild all the monetary and financial policy guardrails that have been demolished by the leadership that they replaced. Basically, that would be my response to that. It's something that is of concern not only to him, but it should be of concern to every Nigerian, that is on a task of rebuilding an institution that is probably now at its worst, since it was created in 1959. That's Central Bank of Nigeria. It has to rebuild the institution. It has to rebuild the immediate, banking system. It has to also, rebuild the financial system, foreign exchange markets, all of that. There is nothing to spare. Even currency, the failed currency they designed, the shadows still haunt us. Although the case is no longer in the Supreme Court, but mutilated currencies are there before us. Empty ATM, ATM. Before us, empty bank vaults are before us. Inadequate. The subject for today is monetary to ask about the meeting a month's time. The better.
Now, yes, I'm with you, Dr. Teriba. But many will say that we expect Mr. Cardoso to articulate a cohesive policy for the monetary aspect of or monetary aspect of the country to coordinate with the fiscal side so that we can achieve the expected growth. Are we expecting that as we move for the MPC meeting, or what should we look out for at that meeting coming?
Okay, the conversation that Nigeria has to have, which I'm not sure we managed to have, in the 7 months that we have spent, under the new regime. It's now 8 months. By the end of January is ending. The renewed hope dispensation is we keep presuming, that there is that we can do monetary policy as if nothing is wrong elsewhere in the economy. You have just made a statement that you will coordinate monetary policy with fiscal policy. Have we set the fiscal house in order? It's not the same fiscal situation that led to record levels of foreign debt. Domestic debt, domestic and foreign. We're talking 89 trillion naira in debt. We are talking about debt service that's consuming most of federal government's realized revenue. Is that we are talking of fiscal, house that has led to the accumulation of waste and means advances. And you're saying they should coordinate monetary policy with that. Fiscal instability, fiscal crisis will derail monetary policy, as it did when the central bank was behind our back, giving them those waste and means advances in excess of 20 trillion naira. When hypocritically the same central bank was, raising cash reserve requirements and tightening monetary policy rate. So we haven't discussed, so if they're meeting on February 26, how orderly is the fiscal situation now? Is it any more orderly? With us, recently borrowing, $3 billion, securitizing, food for the next 5 years or so. But fiscal story, if it dominates monetary policy, is even a small component of the matter. A bigger component, the biggest elephant in the room, is foreign exchange situation. You cannot have any meaningful monetary policy in the face of unstable exchange rate. The kind of volatility you've had in the exchange rate in the past 6 months, you can't discuss monetary policy. It is meaningless. So if we are lucky and we have managed to stabilize the exchange rate before they hold their meeting in February, we could start discussing monetary policy. But in the face of an unstable currency, you can't have monetary policy. Monetary policy autonomy is lost. There's nothing they can do to the monetary policy rate that is going to affect inflation. As long as the exchange rate is unstable, inflation, will keep surging. You need to stabilize the exchange rate first before you can talk reasonably about what should the Monetary Policy Committee now do. The Monetary Policy Committee has not met since July, and it would have been pointless if they met. And if we leave the exchange rate situation to continue on the path that it has been in the last few months, if that's the situation it is in February, it will be pointless for the Monetary Policy Committee to meet, because there's nothing that they can do. What macroeconomists refer to as the impossible trinity confronts them, that you cannot have monetary policy autonomy in the face of unstable exchange rate. And flexible exchange rate, they call it, but if it's flexible, it means that there's a possibility of instability. And in the face of capital flows, with the shortage that we have in the foreign exchange supply, clearly we don't have any positive situation with capital flows. So if you can't control capital flows, if you can't control the exchange rate, you have no monetary policy. You can't have the three together. So for you to have monetary policy, you need to gain control of either the exchange rate or the capital flow, which is why many other countries will build up a wall of reserves that is tall enough to absorb any fluctuations in capital flow, and therefore permit them to have a stable exchange rate even when the exchange rate is floating. Behind that wall of reserves and stable exchange rate, you regain monetary policy autonomy. If you move your monetary policy rate by 0.25 percentage point, it will be effective, either in promoting recovery or in stabilizing prices. Now, if you leave those unaddressed and you say Monetary Policy Committee will meet, Monetary Policy Committee will only meet in vain, because whatever they try to do, it's going to be undermined by exchange rate instability or by foreign reserve inadequacy. So we need to have those fundamental conversations about macroeconomic underpinning, of policies. So you can't be talking fiscal policy in the face of that forex volatility. You can't be talking monetary policy in the face of that forex volatility. Some people are even talking of recapitalizing banks in the face of that forex volatility. Any capital you ask banks to raise now are only going to be wasted on the altar, of devaluation. So we need to sequence our thinking about policy, that certain conditions are necessary for you to even begin to have any reasonable conversation of monetary or fiscal policy. And when you have exchange rate instability, your house is on fire. You have to suspend everything else and put that fire out first. Not to be saying you are raising electricity tariffs, you are raising pump prices. All those are fueled by the devaluation. You want to renegotiate minimum wage. All those are fueled by devaluation. If you do it today and you don't address the exchange rate, you will do it again in 6 months' time. And it exposes the populace, to endless suffering. So we have to wake up. Nigeria, Naira is a sovereign currency. We have to stabilize it. We cannot pretend that it doesn't matter, what has happened to the exchange rate. We are trying to now talk monetary policy and say, coordinate that with fiscal policy. It's not like that. My view, Tolu.
Stay with FX issues. I'm sure we'll use all our time because it's a burning one. Because as at today, on the other side, the dollar to the naira rate is about 1,370, which is worrisome. But arguments before now have been that we should allow demand and supply run this market, that we'll get a stability one way or the other. Are you suggesting that, or what's your suggestion? Some say the CBN still needs to intervene in that market. What can be the quick wins for our FX issues? Let's wrap up on that note.
Well, I know that Nigerians like talking about quick wins or low-hanging fruits. The point is that you don't have any shortcut. No, don't talk about quick win. Talk about wins. You know, victory that if you record the victory, it's permanent. It's not. I don't see any shortcut, and it is better for us to know the truth of the situation with markets, with prices. So the positive thing about what the new administration has done in allowing the market, you know, to find its level based on the forces of demand and supply is that at least we are not denying the truth as, you know, previous governments had done, living in a false reality, ignoring the fact, you know, they would have ignored where the parallel market is and constructed, you know, an alternative reality called the official exchange rate. You know, and the parallel market will offer huge premium on it. So we've allowed the official exchange rate to be flexible as well. And there are periods, there was a time shortly after the new governor was appointed when it's, you know, stabilized. And even the parallel market moved, you know, moved from 1,300 that got to, you know, back to, you know, about 1,000. And that was encouraging. So it's not all bad news since we allowed the flotation. But the point is, you don't put your vessel on the high seas and leave it without an anchor. The anchor for the exchange rate still has to be foreign reserve adequacy. It is clear to everybody that Nigeria does not have adequate level of reserves. And other countries in the same situation with Nigeria will desperately look to raise reserves. And I don't see us taking any desperate measures. We have left the era of trying to control demand. We have allowed, you know, market forces to reign now. But I can't see us making any efforts to rebuild the supply. No country in the world is getting increased foreign exchange from export today. None, including, you know, the biggest, you know, economies in the world, the industrial powers. Nobody is gaining more from export because global exports have been stagnant now for like a decade and are often threatened by shock after shock originating on the global scene and would most likely decline going forward. But many countries have turned to foreign direct investment to compensate for the export revenues that they have lost. And they are getting more and more of it. As global exports have stagnated now for the past 1 decade. Global foreign direct investment stocks has doubled and looks set to double again over the next 5 years. Nigeria is missing in that market. Nigeria is not attracting foreign direct investment when Nigeria actually desperately needs to attract foreign direct investment. And the simple things that other countries are doing to attract foreign direct investment, like, you know, doing IPOs on their state-owned enterprises, Nigeria is doing none of that. Our hopes were raised that NNPC was going to be listed in the market before last year, then they said June last year, till today. Instead of you listing NNPC in the market to, you know, sell some shares through IPO, 2%, 1%, like, you know, they did in Aramco. We are beginning to trade its future output to attract, you know, money today. It's wrong. Kenya is taking 35 state-owned enterprises to the market through IPOs. They will raise it. Egypt has done it. We are the only one who, you know, own a large number of presumably profitable state-owned enterprises, presumably valuable state-owned enterprises, and none of them is in the market. You don't even know the market value of any company that the Nigerian government owns, including LNG. And when you know market values, you can securitize their asset value, not go and securitize their future output. Simple things that you will do that will bring you forex within months. We have neglected to do it. We are not showing any seriousness about doing it. We're talking of funding, the shortfall is through bilateral and multilateral projects. I don't know, which countries sit down and wait for other countries to come and fund projects in its own country as if they don't have projects to fund in their own country. I see India, raising money from foreign investors to fund every possible project they want to do. I see Brazil doing the same. I see Saudi doing the same. We are waiting for multilateral projects. We are waiting for bilateral projects. The wrong conversation. And we were hearing the right conversation from the government in the build-up to the passage of the budget. That they will allow foreign direct investment, they will allow domestic investors, diaspora investors. But here we passed the budget, there is nothing in the budget that shows that we want to allow them. So we need to take desperate steps, because that's the way in which we will raise the foreign investment inflows, that will lift reserves, that will provide you an anchor that will help you to stabilize the exchange rate and help you to bring order back to the rest of the economy. And the problems we are discussing were not caused by the current regime, but the transparency that the current regime has brought to the market, while beneficial, has revealed, what's missing, what more do we need to do? And that, what more we need to do, by now, you can see the Saudi is engaging the world with 200 projects in 17 sectors. They are presenting as investment opportunities and they are getting FDI. India is engaging the world with about 15,000 projects in the 77 or so sectors, and they're getting the investment. Brazil is getting the investment. Saudi and India got about 60 billion from FDI 2022. And their target is to be getting 100 billion. And there's money in that segment that Nigeria could get if we could present the investment opportunities.
Interesting stuff.
So look.
Yes, interesting. Doc, a lot said there. I must thank you so much for making sense of this topic for us today and this Monday, and starting the week with us on Business Nigeria. We appreciate your time. Dr. Ayo Teriba is the CEO, Economic Associates. Do enjoy the rest of your day. We appreciate this.
Thank you.
All right, there. Well, moving on to our next discussion, we'll look at the takeouts from the just concluded World Economic Forum, yes, in Davos, Switzerland. And the group CEO, Cowrie Assets Management Limited, Mr. Johnson Chukwu, would be with me after this break to continue this conversation. Don't go away. It's Business Nigeria.